Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Radha Shiv Sadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiv Sadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiv Sadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopi Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchan Gorangi Radhe Vrindaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chev Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirai Tusi Radhe Govind Bhagwan Ki Jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Jyoti.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna. Hello Sachin. Hare Krishna. Krishna. All right. So we had a break yesterday. So we are restarting today again. And when I was at the 24 hours Kirtan this weekend in West Virginia ISKCON Temple. So I did send some of the clips and it was really nice. It was nice to be there. Pretty good crowd and a lot of great Kirtan leaders. So there's some, I don't know if you heard about Gaurvani. So Gaurvani Prabhu was there and Amla Prabhu. So they are like great Kirtan leaders. It's so blissful to go and listen to them and sing together. So that was nice in West Virginia. Getting back to Srimad Bhagavatam, on Monday we were reading Shlok 9 of Adhyay 10 to 3. So what we are reading in this is conversation between Karda Muni and Devhuti, his wife Devhuti. So if you just remember, Karda Muni and Devhuti got married. Devhuti is none other than Shambhu Manu's daughter. And Lord Brahmaji is asking Karda Muni to expand the family and sow the universe. But then Karda Muni does the tapasya. Lord Vishnu gives darshan to him. And now Karda Muni is telling Devhuti that, hey, actually, you know what? You have been with me for so long. I should give you the transcendental experience, which he himself has experienced. So that's what Karda Muni has been telling Devhuti, that no one gets the transcendental experience, but here it is, I'm going to give it to you. So that's what is being mentioned. Upon hearing the speaking of her husband, so after that, when Karda Muni offered the transcendental experience, Devhuti is now speaking. So what Devhuti is saying is, upon hearing the speaking of her husband, Karda Muni, who excelled in knowledge of all kinds of transcendental science, innocent Devhuti was very satisfied. Her smiling face shining with a slightly bashful glance, she spoke in a choked voice because of great humility and love. So now what we are reading is Devhuti is now speaking, and so let's read that. Anil Prabhu, Anilji?
जी देवहूतिर्वाच राधं बत द्विज वृषयेत द मोघयोग मायाधिपेत्यै विभो तदवैमि वर्तः यस्तेभ्य धायि समयः सकृदंग संगो भूयाद् गरीयसी गुणः प्रसवः सतीनाम् It's a little slow on my side, I think. Sri Devahuti said, "My dear husband, O best of Brahmins, I know that you have achieved perfection and are the master of all the infallible mystic powers because you are under the protection of Yogamaya, the transcendental nature. But you once made a promise that our bodily union should now fulfill, since children are a great quality for a chaste woman who has a glorious husband. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So Dehuti says that you are definitely under the protection of Yogamaya, but then they go back to the promise, and where Lord Brahma also asked Kardamuni and then also Dehuti, the promise from Kardamuni to have children and expand the family. Yeah. And so that's what Dehuti is requesting. Jyoti?
Tatre vikrutya mupa shiksha yatopadesha enasya me karshito tiri ramsatyam siddhayate krita mani bhavadashitaya dinastadisha bhavanam sadrusham vichakshva. Devahuti continued, "My dear Lord, I am struck by excited emotion for you. Therefore, kindly make what arrangements must be made according to the scriptures, so that my skinny body, emaciated through unsatisfied passion, may be rendered fit for you. Also, my Lord, please think of a suitable house for this purpose."
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So
Hare Krishna.
Dehuti is asking for a suitable house and to have children. So the next, Ajay.
Maitreya Uvach. Priyaya Mavinchan Kardamo Yog Masthitaha Vimanam Kamamam Chat Stro Vavi Ravikarat Rachikarat. Maitreya continued, "O Vidura, seeking to please his beloved wife, the sage Kardam excited his yogic power and instantly produced an aerial mansion that could travel at his will." Hare Krishna.
Krishna, yeah. So Dehuti is asking for a nice house, and so yogic power, yeah. Says here, Yogam Astitaha Kardamuni. What he did, Vimanam Kamgam, yeah. So he instantly produced an aerial mansion, so a mansion in the air, which can travel anywhere at will, yeah, which could travel at his will. So that's what Kardamuni produced. And of course, as we know, Maitreya Muni is telling Mahatma Vidur, he's answering all the questions of Mahatma Vidur. Yeah, nice purport. Let's read this, Tarun.
Here the words Yogam Ashtitha are significant. The sage Kardama was completely perfect in yoga. As a result of real yoga practice, there are 8 kinds of perfection. The yogi can become smaller than the smallest, greater than the greatest, or lighter than the lightest. He can achieve anything he likes. He can create even a planet. He can establish influence over anyone, etc. In this way, yogic perfection is achieved, and after this one can achieve the perfection of spiritual life. Thus, it was not very wonderful for Kardama Muni to create a mansion in the air, according to his own desire, to fulfill the desire of his beloved wife. He at once created the palace, which is described in the following verses. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, yeah. So Kardamuni created this mansion, palace in the air. And what palace was that is being described now, as we as we read further. Yeah, but the important part also is a yogi, right? So we see sometimes like Siddha yogis who have done self-realization. So they get all the siddhis, right? We said us to siddhis. So it's not something like which is imaginary. There are 8 kinds of perfection. Those yogis actually get the power of becoming smaller and lighter and greater and all that. Yeah. Rinaji?
सर्व काम दुघम दिव्यम सर्वरत्न समन्वितम सर्वसिद्धर युपचयोर्दकम मणिस्तंभैर रूपस्कृतम. It was a wonderful structure, built all sorts of jewels, adorned with pillars of precious stones, and capable of yielding whatever one desired. It was equipped with every form of furniture and wealth, which tended to increase in the course of time. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So the palace is being described like Sarva Ratna Samanvita. Like, yeah. And actually, just read like what kind of castle was created, right? Sachin?
The castle created in the sky by Kardam Muni may be called a castle in the air, but by his mystic power of yoga, Kardam Muni actually constructed a huge castle in the air. To our feeble imagination, a castle in the sky is an impossibility, but if we scrutinizingly consider the matter, we can understand that it is not impossible at all. If the Supreme Personality of Godhead can create so many planets carrying millions of castles in the air, a perfect yogi like Kardam Muni can easily construct one castle in the air. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, yeah. So it's not something impossible, is what is being mentioned. Yeah. Anilji?
Yeah. The castle is described as Sarva Kam Dugham, yielding whatever one desired. It was full of jewels. Even the pillars were made of pearls and valuable stones. These valuable jewels and stones were not subject to deterioration, but were everlastingly and increasingly opulent. We sometimes hear of castles thus bedecked on the surface of this earth also. The castle constructed by Lord Krishna for his 16,108 wives were so bedecked with jewels that there was no need of lamplight during the night. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna is the so no
Hare
need of
Krishna.
lamplight also. Yeah, it says even money stambhe, like even the stump, like even the pillars were made up of jewels, is what is being mentioned. And Jyoti?
Divyo Pakarane Petam Sarvakala Sukavaham Pati Hakabihi Patarkabi Virchitatra Viralam Krutham Sragvi Chitra Malyabi Machu Shicha Ja Shanga Bradihi Dukkaloksho Ma Kausheya Yar Nara Vasrai Virajitham. The castle was fully equipped with all necessary paraphernalia, and it was pleasing in all seasons. It was decorated all around with flags, festoons, and artistic work of variegated colors. It was further embellished with wreaths of charming flowers that attracted sweetly humming bees and tapestries of linen, silk, and various other fabrics. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, yeah. So see how Karda Muni just with his Yog Maya created this kind of castle. Yeah. Ajay? Ajay?
Yeah. Upari Vinstanali Yeshu Prithak Chiptai Kashipubhi Kantam Paryank Kavya Janasani. The palace looked charming with beds, couches, fans, and seats, all separately arranged in 7 stories. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, so palace was 7 stories. Basically. Jitendra?
Hare Krishna. Tatra tatra vinikshapta shino shilposhobhitam mahakarma thalaya jushtam vidve vedavi. Its beauty was enhanced by artistic engravings here or there on the walls. The floor was of emerald with coral daisies. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, yeah. Rinaji?
द्वासो विद्रुमदेहल्या भातं वज्रकपाटवत् शिखरेष्विन्द्रनीलेषु हेमकुम्भैर्यधिश्रितम्. The palace was very beautiful, with its coral thresholds at the entrances and its doors bedecked with diamonds. Gold pinnacles crowned its domes of sapphire. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, can you guess the value of that palace? Which can move in the air at its will, right? Created by the Yog Maya. So very interesting. Tarun?
Chakshusmata Padma Ragair Vajra Bhitistu Nirmiteh Justa Vichitra Vetane Meher Hema Toranaya. With the choicest rubies set in its diamond walls, it appeared as though possessed of eyes. It was furnished with wonderful canopies and greatly valuable gates of gold. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so this is what Kardamuni is creating for Devhuti. Yeah, on Devhuti's request. Sachin?
Hansa paravata vrata satra tatra nikujitam kritimana manya maneha swanadhiru cha. Here and there in that palace were multitudes of live swans and pigeons, as well as artificial swans and pigeons, so lifelike that the real swans rose above them again and again, thinking them live birds like themselves. Thus the palace vibrated with sounds of these birds. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anilji? Anilji?
Yeah. विहारस्थान विश्राम संवेश प्रांगणाजिरय यथोपजोषम रचितय विस्मापन vivatmanah. The castle had pleasure grounds, resting chambers, bedrooms, and inner and outer yards designed with an eye to comfort. All this caused astonishment to the sage himself. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So sage created in the Yog Maya, Kardamuni, yeah? In spite of that, says Vishmapan Vivatmana hai. Basically, it even caused the astonishment to the sage himself. Yeah. Jitendra?
Ishagraha tat pashanti nati pritena chetasa sarvabhuta kshaya kibhigya pravo chadkarma swayam. When he saw Devhuti looking at the gigantic opulent palace with a displeased heart, Kardam Muni could not understand her feelings because he could study the heart of anyone. Thus he personally addressed his wife as follows.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So Kardamuni created this palace, but somehow his wife was displeased. So Kardamuni is now addressing his wife. Let's just read this, Tarun.
Devhuti had spent a long time in the hermitage, not taking much care of her body. She was covered with dirt and her clothing was not very nice. Kardama Muni was surprised that he could produce such a palace, and similarly his wife Dehuti was also astonished. How could she live in that opulent palace? Kardama Muni could understand her astonishment, and thus he spoke as follows. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so for so many years of tapasya and all that, she was covered with dirt, right? But now the palace is so beautiful. So now Kardama Muni is speaking to Dehuti. Okay.
Nimajja Yasmin Hriday Bhiru Viman Mid Maruh Idam Shukla Kritam Tirth Mashasham Yapakam Niram. My dear Devhuti, you look very much afraid. First, bathe in Lake Bindu Sarovar created by Lord Vishnu himself, which can grant all desires of a human being, and then mount this airplane. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So Kardama Muni is asking to take a bath in Bindu Sarovar. And if you remember, how was Bindu Sarovar created? It was created by Lord Vishnu, yeah, when he gave darshan to Kardama Muni, and then the tears fell into that river. That's where the Bindu Sarovar was created. So Kardama Muni is asking Dehuti to take a bath in that place. Yeah. So read this, Srinaji.
It is still the system to go to places of pilgrimage and take a bath in the water there. In Vrindavan, the people take baths in the river Yamuna. In other places, such as Prayag, they take baths in the river Ganges. The word Tirtham, Asisam, Iyapakam refers to the fulfillment of desires by bathing in a place of pilgrimage. Kardama Muni advised his good wife to bathe in Lake Bindu Sarovar so that she could revive the former beauty and luster of her body. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. And Jyoti?
Sa tadvartuhu samadaya vacha kavalya sarajam bibrati vaso veni bhudamascha murdajam. The lotus-eyed Devahuti accepted the order of her husband. Because of her dirty dress and the locks of matted hair on her head, she did not look very attractive. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, yeah. So it appears that Devhuti's hair had remained uncombed for many years and had become complicated in tangles. In other words, she neglected her bodily dress and comforts to engage in the service of her husband, right? So, sorry. Sachin?
Santah Sarasi Veshamasthaha Shatani Dasha Kanyakaha Sarva Kishora Vayaso Dadorshatpala Gandhaya. In a house inside the lake, she saw 1,000 girls, all in the prime of youth and fragrant like lotuses. Hare Krishna.
Right. So Dehuti Bindu Sarovar mein jati hai, right, to take a bath in the Saraswati river, and that's where she sees 1,000 girls, and all the fragrant like lotuses. So, Jitendra.
Tvam drashtva sahasvabhyo rocha prajyanam striya vayam karma kirvastubhyam shadhina karvam kimam. Seeing her, the damsel suddenly rose and said with folded hands, "We are your maid servants. Tell us what we can do for you." Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So it says, while Dehuti was thinking of what to do in that great palace in her dirty clothes, there were at once by the yogic powers of Kardama Muni 1,000 maid servants prepared to serve her. they appeared before Dehuti within the water and presented themselves as her mad servants, simply awaiting her orders. Yeah. Ajay?
Snanem tam Mahahadin Snapayitva Munis Swanim Dukule Nirmale Nute Tudrais Cha Manada. The girls, being very respectful to Devhuti, brought her forth, and after bathing her with valuable oils and ointments, they gave her fine new spotless clothes to cover her body. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Rinaji?
Bhushanani parardhyani variyansi dimante cha annam sarvagudopetam panam chavamritasavam. They then decorated her with very excellent and valuable jewels, which shone brightly. Next, they offered her food containing all good qualities and a sweet, inebriating drink called asavam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. No? Tarun?
Athadarshe swa. Her body was completely freed from all dirt, and she was adorned with a garland. Dressed in unsullied robes and decorated with auspicious marks of tilaka, she was served very respectfully by the maids. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so it continues to describe how Dehuti was getting prepared, right? Jyoti?
Snatham Krutashiraha Snanam Sarva Barana Bhushitam Nishkagridam Valinam Kujakanchanu no Puram. How her entire body, including her head, was completely bathed and she was decorated all over with ornaments. She wore a special necklace with a locket. There were bangles on her wrists and tinkling anklets of gold about her ankles. Hare Krishna.
Rinaji?
Shunyo radhyastaya kanchanya bahuratnaya harin cha maharharin ruchaken cha bhushitam. About her hips she wore a girdle of gold set with numerous jewels, and she was further adorned with a precious pearl necklace and auspicious substances. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so we are going to pause here and see how the palace was described, the aerial mansion, and then Dehuti. Yeah, so we'll continue reading it tomorrow. And since it's Kartik month, we will listen to Damodar Astakam. So we'll continue listening to Damodar Astakam from day before yesterday. Yeah. So let me share the screen. And we'll see you tomorrow. Yeah. Hare Krishna. I'll just give her 1 second. Shama. Ram Krishna
Rekakakanta Teta Brahmam Damodaram Bhaktipadam Muhushvasakam